Hey, and we're live here, everybody. Patrick Batty and Marion Herbertson, and welcome to another Boomer High. How you doing, Marion?
I'm very well, thank you, Patrick. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'll tell you, I've been working my tail off for a little
Mm,
while, for the last couple of weeks, and I have had so much energy, you wouldn't believe it.
well done,
First of all,
Patrick.
I've accomplished a lot, but I've not been getting exhausted. I've just been high energy.
Good.
Feeling good and feeling really good. So I didn't start music tonight. I just wanted to fill people in why normally we do, but the music is always playing on my computer and my microphone doesn't pick it up very well anyway. So it kind of comes through fairly poor. So, and I'm just going to stop my video on there. There we go. So we
Okay.
are, I just had my sound check, so we're good. Everything's good. So the music comes across kind of poor. I'd like to have a little intro, but I don't know how to, on a Google Hangout, to play system sound instead of my microphone. Now, maybe there's a way. And if any of you guys out there that are watching know what it is, let us know. And that. So anyway, but anyway, yeah, how's your week been going?
Mine, Patrick, it's been, like you're saying, hectic, but hectic in such a good way. And that's what I like about it. But unlike you, I've been absolutely shattered. But I think a lot of that is to do with the weather we're having here,
What's the weather
you
been
know?
like?
Oh, up until today, it has been dismal, right? Gray, drizzly. We've had all the high tides and everything else, because of um, everything that's been happening, the blood moons and um, the other bit that happened and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So we've been getting all of those effects. But
Ah.
today,
Okay.
it was bright sunshine and glorious weather. And it's surprising how much of a difference that can make, you
It
know?
could really make a big difference, can't it?
Yeah,
We've had a
yeah.
lot of sunshine, and fortunately, our snow is all gone,
Oh,
other
good.
than maybe the odd pile at the end of a driveway. But it's also been cold. So we've had a lot of sunny days, but it's still been, you know, well below freezing overnight, and not much above freezing during the day. And now today is just a cold.
Gosh.
This is more of a UK day, a little cold and
Right.
damp and things like that. So, um, but anyway, 1 second here. There we go. Um, Back to what I've been doing. I'll just fill you in a little bit. I've been a
Hmm.
busy beaver. For those of you know, we have a new blogging platform. I've actually been using the older platforms for a few years, so I have a lot of blog posts on it. And I've done some new design on my platform, and then I migrated all the old ones from the old platforms over to the new. But I decided, you know what, if I'm going to put them all on a brand new website, and even though I had over 2 years of blog posts out there, I decided to update them
Yeah.
because so much of the stuff that I wrote about was now out of date. So I did a major busy work of kind of getting rid of the stuff that was irrelevant now, some products that I talked about that aren't even around now, um, so, like tools and things like that, um, stuff like that. So I just brought things up to date. I, made sure everything was compliant on my blog, which is a kind of an important thing to make sure you're not doing anything
Yeah.
misleading, and you don't get hit by a company or something about compliance, or even if it's not compliant, your blog could suffer with Google or Facebook and things like that if
Mm.
you were sending stuff to it. So I've done a major cleanup to keep it, bring it fresh and make sure everything was straight, because I've learned a lot over the last couple of years. And I might go back even and really revise some posts, but effectively I just did some housekeeping. But what we're going to talk about tonight is some other housekeeping that I've done that
Mm.
you've been an expert at, and that is a tool called GetResponse.
If you
And
say so, Patrick.
well, you're more of an expert than I am, because I really, first of all, for those of you guys that are watching, you're probably involved in this already, so you may know that there's a thing called an autoresponder. An autoresponder is a tool that allows you to capture an email address when somebody fills in a form, and it puts it in a database. The database tool is called an autoresponder. As well, inside of that autoresponder product, there are email campaigns. So you can predefine a bunch of email campaigns so that when somebody opts in, they're going to get the first email today, and they'll get the second one tomorrow, and the next one the day after, and the next one the day after that. So that's, and then yet, but if somebody else signs up tomorrow, they're going to get the first day's one, and they'll get the second day's one the day after. So the cool thing about an autoresponder is once it's set up, it's really cool because you could have thousands of names getting hundreds of different emails every day, and you don't really have to do anything. And then if you want to send an email blast to everybody, like that's time sensitive, you can do it. I do that with Boomer High every week. I send out 2 emails on Thursdays. So how we do that is with an autoresponder. Well, back to the story, there are 2 big commercial ones. There are many of them, but there's 2 that are probably what are thought of as industry standards. One is called Aweber. Funny name. I don't know if it was somebody's name, Mr. Aweber. And the other one's called GetResponse. Anyway, long story short, I've used Aweber for about 3 years. I've used GetResponse for about 5 months, but I honestly didn't do much with GetResponse other than the odd broadcast message. And that, so I never became very good at it. What I decided to do is, over the last couple of weeks, is switch everything from Aweber to GetResponse. Why I decided to do that is, once I started seeing more about GetResponse, I started feeling it was superior. 2, it's actually a little less expensive. 3, there was a couple products or systems that I'm in that you need to have a GetResponse account. So if I had to have one with them, there was not much point on an ongoing basis having a redundant Aweber account, even though that's where most of my stuff was. But someday I had to bite the bullet and move everything. And I've done that this week, and it pretty much has taken about, I would say, about 4 days. Some parts of that are easy and some are difficult, and we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. For those people that are already in GetResponse and don't have Aweber, well, you don't need to know about how to move things, but we're going to talk a little bit about how to use GetResponse a bit more effectively as well, because Marion's been using it for a long time, right?
Yep.
So that kind of, I just wanted to give I wanted to give it a little bit of the background, but then I'm going to turn it over to you. Maybe Marion, you want to give a kind of a more of an overview of GetResponse?
Okay, certainly. Let me do that now in that case. So here's the thing. As Patrick was saying, most of us have come from the Aweber background. And I'm the kind of person, if I do anything, I have to know the ins and outs of it. I can't just be satisfied with just kind of making things work. I have to find out everything. So I was really into Aweber, using all the features, loving everything about it and really comfortable with it. And then, of course, we joined, another program which would only work with GetResponse. So my little world fell apart. It was big stress levels and all of that. But again, because I knew at that stage that I would have to do this, I actually moved everything over at that stage. So it's not as though I know any more than Patrick does, because he's done such in-depth stuff over the last little while. It's just that I'm a little bit more seasoned, if you like. I've kind of been using it for a little bit longer. So anything that he's gone through and anything that anybody else needs to go through, I've probably been there and done that.
Yeah.
And what I like about GetResponse, now that I'm, talking with it and I'm happy with it and all the rest of it, is the fact that once you forget about the terminology that you used in Aweber, GetResponse is actually a lot more user-friendly. You know, Aweber was more for the very technical person and that kind of thing. But now I find that with GetResponse, they are very, very, just user-friendly is the term really. But also what I do like about them is that inside GetResponse, they have a little chat box. And if you're stuck with anything, you can actually click on that chat box. And invariably, you have a live person. Imagine having a dead person, Patrick. But you have a live person there with you within minutes, asking you what the problem is, and they will talk you through things, etc. That's something I really enjoy, and that I tend to use quite a bit as well. They're very helpful.
I've used that twice over the last couple of days, and I'm going to give some later. I'm going to give a big tip for people that are going to do a switch, but I'll share that for later because it's a bit of a detail one. But I learned something yesterday, and the bad news was I wasted 4 or 5 hours,
Patrick.
And I even on support calls with GetResponse, and then I figured it out myself. And the funny thing is, it's so silly, but it's even GetResponse didn't know it. And this was about moving from GetResponse to Aweber to GetResponse. So, before I forget, I will give anybody who has to do that or wants to do that migration, if you happen to have Aweber already and you already have a GetResponse account, or you want to get a GetResponse account, that's up to you. But I want to refer you to a blog post and a video that I put over on my other website, because I wrote all the detail on that blog post and gave a high level of the detail in the video. So if you actually have to do it, we can't go through all the detail because it was extensive. This is a long blog post. But it's on my website, personal website, which is patrickbatty.com, and that's PATRICKBATTY.com, and you'll see a post there that just says how to move from Aweber to GetResponse. Okay, so I'll get into that detail a little later. Why don't you cover the terminology differences, Marion? Because they are interesting, aren't they?
Yeah, they are certainly. Now, off the top of my head, I will mention a few. And this is what I meant when I said, as soon as I made up my mind to forget about Aweber and learn what GetResponse had to do, it was all smooth sailing. But as long as I was actually comparing the two, for example, it's actually in the early stages where in Aweber it's called a list, right? Your list of names, and I became accustomed to put your list name here or do whatever. In GetResponse, it's called a campaign, right? So I kind of was hunting around for my list for ages, and then, oh, right, that's what they mean, a campaign. So that was a biggie there. The other one that really got me was in Aweber, I just go in, and just hit broadcast. Was it called broadcast? It was broadcast, wasn't it, Patrick?
In Aweber, it was broadcast, yeah.
Broadcast, isn't it? I go in there and just hit a button, do a broadcast email, and that was that. I was done. In GetResponse, I couldn't find the feature to do a broadcast. It was like, what's going on? Then figured out that what they call a broadcast in Aweber is actually called a newsletter in GetResponse. And there are about 5 or 6 different things like that right at the word go, where it can completely throw you if you're looking for the same terminology. So be aware of that. It's actually very easy, but just don't compare. Okay, so that'll be the thing there. And can I just say, I can't actually comment here for some reason, but Sue, welcome, good to have you here. This is our Sue Price from Australia, and Gary's done the regular Aussie welcome, so good for you, Gary. And there's
Aussie.
Yeah, exactly. Oi, oi, oi. Yeah. And H. Waters, I recognize that name, but I can't for the world of me. Is that Harold?
Helen? Is it
or Helen? That's what I'm thinking. That's I've either got Helen or Harold in mind.
I don't know. Let us know. Just reply there. Welcome, 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 welcome. And yeah, comment. I found comments, by the way. The plugin that does comments on here, for some reason, I can't do them from Google Chrome, but I can do them from Firefox. So it might be the issue you're encountering, Marianne.
Yes, I'm in
just,
Google Chrome.
Yeah, but I don't know why, but it doesn't work well. This is a big time plugin, but I don't know. Anyway, I won't worry about it.
No problem, Patrick. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Anyway, so continue on. Sorry about that. I've just responded to everybody here. And again, we get most of our viewers are through the week, but we always get a regular crowd on the live show too. And I'm glad we do, because it does feel like you're talking to somebody as opposed to just recording something.
True.
So there we go. I'm caught up on the website there. So terminology. So let's go back again. A list in Aweber is a campaign in GetResponse, right?
Yep.
Right. And a broadcast message in Aweber is called a newsletter in GetResponse, which, pardon me, no, it's called an autoresponder in GetResponse, and a follow-up message in Aweber is called a newsletter in. Yeah.
See, it's so long ago since I've used Aweber that.
Yeah, so you've forgotten some of that.
I have.
That's kind of, well, I didn't know, I don't think I was correcting you at all.
No, it's good.
I was so busy typing, I didn't hear what you were saying there for a few minutes. But I'll tell you, let me tell somebody at a high level the process of moving from one to another. At its most basic thing, your autoresponder consists of two big components: a database of people and a set of emails. Okay? To get the database of people from Aweber is really, really simple. Now, let's assume you have one list in Aweber. You basically go into that list and you go to the contacts section in that list. And at the very bottom of it, there's a button to export a CSV file, which a CSV file is kind of like an Excel file. But anyway, you don't need Excel for it, though. So, but anyway, you simply hit that button and save the file. Now, as a best practice for me, I renamed that file whatever my list name was in GetResponse, or Aweber, pardon me. Okay, so I've got it now. I've downloaded a file that has all of the people's names and all the other information about them in GetResponse. What I then did is went over to Aweber, and because I had more than one list, I created a new campaign, same name as my old one, just so I wouldn't cross myself up. And then there's once you've created your campaign, and again, the details on the Patrick Batty site. But once you've created the campaign, all you have to do is then import your contacts. And you get to import a file, so you import that CSV file. There's a little bit of technical things. It's not hard because they have all these data, but they're not sure what all the data is because they don't know where you're importing it from. Like, it's not specific to Aweber. So it'll do its best job to try to figure out what is the name, what is the address, and so forth. But there'll be a list of all the data, and then there's a thing where you can just select from a drop-down to tell it what it all is. You're only doing it one time. So in my case, all the names, it knew they were names, but the addresses, it didn't necessarily know what was the address, what was the city, what was the postal code. So I just had to, click the drop-down beside the address and select, say it's the address field, click the drop-down beside the city, the state, the postal code or zip code, and that in country. That was it. That was all the mapping I had to do. It was just those 5 things. You press import, and it does it immediately if your list is under 1,000 people. If it's over 1,000, they basically want to do a verify in some sort of thing, and it takes 4 or 5 hours then. But if it's under 1,000, for the lists that I had that were under 1,000, it was instant. and I then have a new campaign with all of the people in the system. That makes sense to you, Mary? Just to make sure I'm not going astray? Whoop, we lost your audio. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay.
I didn't want to disturb you, so muted myself out.
Okay.
And then forgot that I'd muted myself out. But what I was going to say, Patrick, what I would advise anybody who's going to kind of bring over a large list is be very, very careful what you do. Right. Here's the thing. GetResponse and all of these email provider people, they have to be responsible for their own deliverability rates. So the way they do that is by making sure that their processes are not being clogged up with unknown email addresses and addresses that are flagged up and people that complain and all that kind of thing. And I made a big mistake when I first did this, where I just transferred everything from Aweber over, even my lists where they'd been dormant for a while, where I hadn't touched those lists for a long while. I even, transferred those over. And what happened was I got this rash of complaints or unsubscribes.
Oh, okay.
Right. Because these people didn't know me from Adam. They'd kind of forgotten me,
Yeah.
I hadn't touched them in about 6 months, maybe longer than that.
Hey, it shows one thing, though. They're opening the emails from GetResponse. Yeah. They weren't opening them from Aweber.
Exactly, And so I got this little rash of complaints, and GetResponse shut my account down immediately.
Ooh,
exactly.
Ouch.
They shut my account down immediately. Of course, I panicked. But I did the one thing that I always do, which is I picked up the phone and actually spoke with them.
Okay.
And this is it. And once they realized that I wasn't I wasn't somebody who was trying to spam people or, all of that, they were very, very good. They reinstated my account and all the rest.
Right.
One thing that stood in my favor, though, was the fact that before I made that big transfer and imported it into GetResponse, I actually, for some weird reason, I'm not sure now why I did it, but I had the foresight to actually call them and let them know that this was what I was going to do.
Oh, okay.
So, exactly. So now my argument was, but I told you all I was going to do it.
You didn't warn me, right?
You didn't warn me. And they were like, okay, but I think they just got fed up of listening to me. So they went, okay, Mrs. Herbertson, we're reinstating it, but don't do anything like this again.
Right.
So there's just a little warning out there. And now, something that I'm hearing around, and Patrick, you would have heard it in the 20K room and that kind of thing. What GetResponse is doing is if you use the raw links, the join dot whatever it is, or if you use your building your brand online link or your Empower Network or iPass, if you use any of your raw links in your emails, right, you run the risk of being questioned.
Now that I didn't know, so I'll have to go back and check that.
Yeah. So literally what I've done is I've actually, forwarded I've created subdomains for all the different links, and I use those in my email.
Maybe next week we can show people how to do that. But I've never done subdomain links.
Oh, okay.
I know you do. You just do it on your main domain, wherever you buy your domain name, right?
Yep.
But that would be a cool thing to show.
Okay, I'll make a note of that now. It's so easy peasy, Patrick.
I'm fortunate in one respect, what I did, because when you buy these services, you pay based on the number of people that are in your list. And I had, everybody, no matter how big or small your list is, some people won't open the emails. Yeah. So I thought, well, look, I don't want to be paying for a list over and GetResponse if they're not of people that aren't opening. So I actually deleted people that hadn't opened in 6 months. Now you got to be careful about that, because if you say select, and this is something you could do in Aweber or Aweber specifically, select all the people that haven't opened a message in 6 months. Well, you also got to make sure that they're not people that have signed up in less than 6 months.
Yes. Oh gosh.
Right? Because um, so in other words, what if somebody hasn't opened or signed up 2 weeks ago? Well, they haven't and didn't open a message. Well, they're still on your list, right? But they also didn't open a message in 6 months. Well, I don't want to delete those people, right? So not yet. I want to give people 6 months. If they don't open something at that point, I'll delete them. So your criteria to house clean your list is you pick the length of time. I picked 6 months. Some people do 4. But anyway, it was so you had to do a couple criteria. One, the sign up date was on a certain date 6 months ago or before. They signed up before that date 6 months ago, and they hadn't opened up in 6 months. I then got a list of all of these people. So they're not opening any emails. There's no sense me keeping on sending them to them, and also paying, to have them in my database. So I then deleted them, and I did that before I did my import. So
good.
So
you had a clean list, basically.
Yeah, I had a relatively clean list to do it. So anyway, there are some idiosyncrasies, but there are, and your point about cleaning your list first, I'll add that to the blog post over on the Patrick Batty site, because that's a real important one. That I did it because of just thinking it was economical. I didn't realize it could affect your account.
Yes.
So that's a good thing. But I'll tell you what I'm excited about now, what I've learned that I didn't know before is GetResponse had an old version of an editor and then a new version of an editor.
Yes.
And I always thought the new version could really make sexy looking emails, but it would take forever to do them. The old version, the emails didn't look all that good, but you could do it in a minute. Well, what I ended up doing is they have a thing called templates. And I went in and I made one template. Well, I've now made about 4. And I basically created the template with the look and feel. I basically was writing a post. And I did it the way I want, and I spent the time on that template, on that blog post, I should say. But then and once it's done with the fonts that I want, and if I had an image in, I had an image inserted, all that kind of stuff. But before I saved it as an email, I saved it as a template.
As a template.
Right. And so now basically when I want to do a new blog post, I go in, I use the new editor because they'll look a lot better. I then say, pick a template from my templates, select that, and then I just copy or edit my text.
Yeah.
It's all done to with the same formatting, the fonts and all that. And now I didn't know this before at all. I didn't spend time on GetResponse enough to know that. But now I can I can use the new good-looking editor and still do a post in a few minutes. And in fact, I made that template before I started copying all my emails over, and we'll talk about that in a minute or two as well. But because that made reconstructing all the emails from Aweber into GetResponse that much faster. All right.
Good for you, Patrick. Yeah.
So once we did that, that just made the job faster. But I still had the 4-hour glitch that I'll tell you about. Stay tuned. I'm gonna dangle that out there. Stay tuned for
well, Patrick, with the messages, it's what I tend to do because I don't use. I'm so tempted to use the pretty templates, but apparently they can have an effect on your deliverability. I don't know. Yes. Right. I've never clarified it. I've never had anybody categorically say to me, don't use it, Marion, it's going to do this. But you always hear that. So I always go for the basic template. And the way I make my life really easy is because obviously I've set my email up the way I want it to be. So when I want to do the next one, I go to my messages and I highlight the message I want to use and I just click reuse.
Oh, and then you
So
go
it
edit it.
actually brings exactly the
Yeah.
same thing out there, and I just
Yeah.
change the text and
Well, that's
I'm
pretty much
done,
the same as me doing a template. I just click. So see, when I said I'm using a template, I'm not
Mm.
using. They've got these ones with all these big images. And
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
No, mine is still a text.
Okay.
It's still a text-based template. It just happens
Yeah.
to be. I've set up the fonts to be a nice-looking font. When I send mine out, I tend to make my fonts a little bit bigger. I
Yes.
find so many emails I get, and the people are using a 13 or a 12 font. I have, I keep, my eyesight's not great, but it looks small to me. So I send mine out in a 15 or 16.
Okay.
I use a very clean looking, I don't know if it's Arial or Tahoma, I can't remember font, but just one like that. But but it is still a text-based template. But I have one template that has text, image, text, and then I have others that are image, text, all the way down with no image, and then another one that has text all the way down with an image at the bottom. So I've saved all three because that gives me all the scenarios that I want.
Yeah.
And then all I have to do is replace my text, replace my image of whatever style I want, and it just makes it quick. So let's talk about moving emails over then. For the people that have to transfer or want to get rid of the, maybe they have GetResponse already and they want to get rid of Aweber just to save some money. So what you do basically, there is a way to download everything from Aweber into a file, but there isn't a way to import it into GetResponse. So I'm not 100% sure what that's for, other than to keep yourself, in case Aweber shuts your account down, maybe if you get them to reactivate it, or if it got deleted somehow, you can upload it. So that didn't do any good. So what I decided to do is just copy and paste my emails over. Open up my Aweber account for whatever campaign it is, have my list of emails. I just, go to the first one, I select all, and I went into GetResponse and I pasted it. Now here's the glitch, and this is the glitch that went on all day yesterday for me that made the job so much longer. When I did that, the links in it would show up, but when I saved them, they would vanish.
Oh,
so
gosh.
I'd send out a test message and there'd be no links in it. There'd be no links in it. Or I'd go back in and put the link in again and send out a test message and there wouldn't. About 1 out of 20 times, the link would stay. Now, if you imagine having to do this with about, in my case, out of 5 campaigns, maybe 100 emails.
Oh, my goodness.
And each individual link is an effort to save. I spent 4 hours trying to get one properly saved, and GetResponse couldn't help me with the problem. They tried. They didn't know what was causing it. So here's the secret. And I feel really good for figuring it out. Now, somebody might have another better way, but this is what works for me, so I'm going with it. And it made my job much easier. When I copied everything from Aweber, I immediately put it in a text file, not in GetResponse. I just opened my notepad, saved it on a text file, not in GetResponse. Then I just copied it from the text file and then put it in GetResponse. Here's what I expect is going on. It's something like if you tried to save a Word document in GetResponse. There's all kinds of code behind the scenes that you don't see, right? And so whereas it looks like it's just writing, it's just your writing, there's other stuff there. Because when I did this, it worked every time. Every time. Now, there is the one glitch, you lose your links. When you move it into a text file, it doesn't have hyperlinks. So what you have to do is then go back to your Aweber email, copy the link, just copy the link, and then go and then put that in the appropriate spots in GetResponse. That caused no problems at all. But when I copied the entire email, every time it was causing problems. And I must admit, I'm a little surprised that GetResponse doesn't know that, because a lot of people could encounter it, right, and waste a lot of time. Now, maybe it was just mine, maybe, I don't know, but I'll tell you what, I wasted 4 or 5 hours yesterday once I started thinking about it, what could it be? What could it be? What could it be? I started thinking, well, where have I run into that before? I ran into it when I was copying from Word to Aweber. Exact
Mm.
same thing. So all you have to do, it's literally a 5-second thing. You open Notepad, you get your Aweber document, select all the code, the email, paste it in it, in the document in the Notepad. Then just select that code right there. You don't have to close it. You don't have to save it. You don't have to do anything. You just keep the same Notepad over and over. Copy it again, drop it in, get response. So that's it. And that honestly is something that if anybody's going to go through the process, that'll probably save you a lot of grief, because this was driving me batty, Patrick batty, and they didn't have an answer. And I was just kind of in the back of my mind thinking, where did I've run into something like this before. Where was it? And it was by pasting into Aweber from Word. So I thought, oh, I'll give it a try. It doesn't make sense, but I'll give it a try. And sure enough, it worked like a charm. So,
Gosh, it's a good thing, it kind of makes me giggle sometimes because, I mean, I had an experience a couple of weeks ago where somebody in my team asked, this is completely different now, somebody in my team asked about Kalatu and multiple blogs.
right.
Multiple blogs on Kalatu. So I was wondering about that myself. So I phoned support and asked about it, and they said, oh yeah, it's coming soon. In the next couple of weeks you should have it. Now, one of my leaders did exactly the same thing. She phoned support and they didn't know a thing about it. So here am I saying it's going to happen in 2 weeks' time, and she's saying, well, Marion, surely if it was going to happen in 2 weeks' time, they'd know about it and not tell me that there wasn't any signs of it.
Yeah.
And of course, yesterday they announced that, you can have 2 additional blogs on your normal Kalatu blog.
Yeah.
And she's like, what happened? And sometimes I'm just so glad that some of us are confident enough to kind of not take support's word for it.
Well, support everywhere is, and I'm not trying to trash them. They've got a job to do, and they're talking to hundreds of people a day.
Yeah, yeah.
So who knows? Who knows? And
Yeah.
sometimes nobody knows when something's going to be released, because the people that are releasing it
True.
don't exactly know when.
And they don't tell them the communication.
No, they don't tell support. I mean, it's like, don't let the cat out of the bag. Who knows? But anyway, I wanted to share that because I'll tell you what, I don't want anybody else to have to go through that. I wrote about it in detail on the blog on Patrick Batty's site. Let me think, what else was there? So you basically, the cool thing with that I really got to like now about GetResponse is the fact that you can use the same emails in multiple campaigns.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I don't know if Aweber ever had that, but I never did that.
Okay.
I could send a blog post, or I could send a broadcast message in Aweber out to all my campaigns, but I wasn't able to just pull a message from one campaign and put it into another. Now maybe it's there and it's just not something I did, but the fact that I have 4 campaigns now, some of the emails I wanted in multiple ones, and it's simple. Once you put it in the system, it's there. Now when you create a new email, it'll ask you if you want to, pull one from elsewhere, or do you want to build a new one from scratch?
Yeah.
And that's cool, because again, I had a lot of emails in my system, and I didn't even move all the ones over from Aweber, because again, some of them were like 2 years ago or more, and some of them were ones that I was given when I started the system that were written by somebody else, and they're not for me, and they're they were just some cases a little spammy and things like that. But I'll tell you what, I'm excited about it. So now when I literally go into into GetResponse, I just want to send a message out, say it's a broadcast or what they call a newsletter. I just say create newsletter, select my theme, put in my text, put in my link if there's a link, publish, send, boom, it's out.
Done.
And I honestly, unless it's a really long email, it probably wouldn't take more than 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So So some emails are long, some are short. I like putting videos in my emails because I think it gets some attention, and I do like putting images in, and as long as your image is small, it doesn't hurt deliverability of the email.
Yeah.
You don't want too big a picture. This is kind of like you were talking about on the themes. If they have these big pictures, it can hurt, especially with Google and things like that, or Gmail. They won't take them. Now, Gmail by default seems to have images turned off. Sometimes if I have an image on, right in the email, I'll say, turn on images.
Exactly.
Turn on images for best effect or something like that.
Yeah.
So do you have any other tips you'd like to share about GetResponse, Marion?
Well, Patrick, there are just so many little things that, you're not going to get familiar with unless you dig in and use it. And that's what I would suggest to everybody, because here's the thing. Your autoresponder, as far as I'm concerned, that is the heart of my business. I might be getting leads and making sales and doing all of that, but my autoresponder is the little bit which allows me to connect with my audience and build that relationship, etc. So to me, right from the word go, it was of absolute importance that I learned to use that properly. And how I get around, I have to dig in and experiment and make mistakes and, entirely wipe things out before I sort of learn how I've done it and all that kind of thing. What I found really helpful is that little blue tag you get inside your GetResponse account, where you can talk to the support people. And my thing to them is always, do you have a little video that shows me how to do this? And bless their hearts, if they don't have a video, they will go away and make one for you.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they're lovely.
That's good.
Recently, oh yes. So here's the thing. I was saying to Patrick earlier, I'm actually helping one of my teammates by managing her autoresponders and managing her account for her while she gets up to scratch on, learning things for herself, etc. So when I write an email in my account, when I make a broadcast email in my own GetResponse account, I like to use that in hers, but experience the same thing that Patrick did. When you copy it all over, you lose the formatting, you lose the links, you lose everything. And then you've got to start from scratch again. Now, obviously, I want to work smart, not hard. So I thought, hang on, there's got to be a way. And I know the same thing happens if you're copying WordPress blogs over. And I know that there, you've got to go into the HTML section of the thing. And if you copy the HTML over to the HTML block, then you're going to save all those, those pretty bits, right? So I thought, hang on, there's got to be a way to do it here. So off I went to the support people. How do you do that? And straight away they said, okay, yeah, we'll send you a little video. And within 10 minutes, they'd done this little video for me, sent it over. So what I do is I do my post, send it. I then go to the HTML, copy that, go over to my teammate's account, paste that into her HTML section, which is so easy. Of course, I then edit the links because I don't want all her stuff coming to me. I'm sure she wouldn't like that either. So edit the links, and that's it. We're done.
Okay.
It looks
I've never done an HTML-based email. I just am worried about that.
No, Patrick, I haven't done an HTML email either. I've just done a normal email, but then of course I've gone in and I've formatted it, bold and colored and all of that.
Right.
And it doesn't copy that bit over unless you copy the HTML.
I see. Okay, got it.
So it's it's very simple, but of course it's only simple once you know how to do it.
Yeah.
Till that time you're tearing your hair out.
What we don't want to do here is try to give people the impression that this is hard to do. It's really not.
Yeah.
Frankly, an autoresponder is such a lifesaver. It's amazing because you get your autoresponder, you set it up so you can capture the leads, you connect with your website so you can capture the leads, and when those leads are in, it'll take care of all the rest for you. You just have to build your messages, right? And so for me, because I had 80 messages, there was some work to do. Now I I don't think I didn't bring all those 80 over. What I ended up doing is probably about 45 over, and I wrote about 35 others. But that was a chunk of work, right? The cool thing is, though, that's done. I don't have to rewrite those messages. I'll probably go back and change some links now based on what you told me. But so I'll go back and edit and just replace some links that I have in there because I don't want this account to get banned. But the cool thing is now, when people see this and opt in, they're going to get these emails. I don't have to worry about it. If they stay, I've got videos, talking about me, my family, my background, the businesses that we do and things like that. If they buy something, great. If they watch the videos, great. If they like it, great. And if they unsubscribe, well, you know what?
That's great too.
Nobody's everybody's cup of tea, right?
Yeah.
But it makes the job easy. The cool thing is now that's all done. Same with that work on the website. I went back and I cleaned up posts. No, I didn't have to do that really. I was just being a little bit anal about it, and I had some time. We were on 3 weeks vacation, so when I got back, I had a lot of energy, had some time that I didn't have earlier, and I said I'm going to really do this right and really make it what I think is professional looking. I mean, it's all subjective, but make it something to be proud of, right? And so I've done that. And I still someday, right now I'd like to get headers on it and some other things, and I'm not a big graphics guy. I use a really easy graphics tool, but I can't really create the Photoshop kind of level graphics, and that's just not me. And frankly, if I ever need them, I'll hire somebody to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
But someday I will get a header that I like and stuff like that. But all that stuff that's not it. And if somebody's brand new to wanting to get into the business, it's not the stuff you want to concentrate on. What you want to start with is blogging.
Content.
I talked about this a lot I've been guests on like about 4 different shows over the last week. And I kind of come back to the same thing all the time. When somebody's new, what you want to start doing on your website, and we've got a button down below if you want to get a Kalatu website if you don't have one. It's the easiest blogging platform in the world. It's probably the most powerful one to get blog posts ranked in the search engines. It's just a dream. So basically, there's a button there if you want to get that. Where was
Patrick, there are 2 little questions here.
Sure.
Yeah, one isn't a question actually. Gary's made a statement here, comment. Aweber does not like I passed 2 links. I nearly got shut down. Absolutely, Gary. And it's not so much. Here's the thing, right? It's not. They don't have anything against any particular marketing company. They're there to support marketing companies. Marketing companies are their bread and butter. What the problem is when people start sending out messages that get a lot of complaints and that kind of thing,
Right.
That's where they start being very picky about or very cautious about what they let through because they can't let their own deliverability rate suffer.
Right.
And then Sue follows on. Actually, I think Sue's question came first. And this is what I've done. Patrick says, Sue says, Marion, I've been sending my blog posts with raw links to get response list in newsletters. Could they get blocked? Sue, the answer to that is yes, they could. Right. So what I've done and what Patrick has done, we've done the domain mapping for Kalatu blog. Right. So any of the posts, etc., that go out, that we put links to, go out with our domain names, not building a brand online domain name. All right.
Right.
So when you're doing that kind of thing, as far as possible, don't use the raw link. Use something that you've either mapped or you've created a subdomain for.
So I'll tell you what, Marion, because we don't have a lot of time to do it, and maybe people don't want to wait till next week. The subdomain idea. Why don't you create a small video? When you have a chance tomorrow, and then we'll put it on Boomer High, and we'll have that there just to show people how to do that exactly. And so you can create multiple subdomains for whatever you're promoting, right? As you were saying, Marion, the point is it's not anybody judging a company or saying that company's not good.
Yeah.
The problem is when there's 100,000 people with
all blogging twice a day, you know.
Yeah, all blogging twice a day. Or not, it's not blogging, it's more of the emails, right?
Yeah.
It's the emails twice a day with
Yeah.
a link for a particular company, whatever that is. It doesn't matter who you are. You know, I send a personal intro email like a broadcast, just here's a video, tell you about myself. That's it. I got complaints about that. Now, if somebody opted into your list, why would you ever complain about that, right? So you never know. There's always going to be somebody who's in a bad mood that's going to hit, all they have to do is like hit one button. So if they watch a video from a company and they just hit a button and say complain, if they get so many, and I don't know what the threshold is, if they get so many, they're going to say that's a bad domain. And then, as you said, they're starting. Now, I've never had it blocked, but mine blocked, but I'm going to take care of that tomorrow myself.
Yeah.
So it's not judging the company.
Doing that.
It's not judging the company. It's that there are, in some of the companies that we are involved in, and many other companies, there's so many people. They've got massive lists. They're sending out emails. There's always going to be a few people that won't like that domain. And if somebody else sends an email to the same company that I'm in, and I'm using the company domain, and they're using the company domain, it affects me because it means GetResponse thinks I'm sending out a spammy link. So it's nothing. It's not you personal. It's GetResponse doesn't like those links from domains that people have issued complaints about. And when a bunch of people are sending emails, it's going to happen. So no matter what we should do now, thinking about that is make it your own domain, whether it's on your personal website or whether you buy a specific domain for the link. You can do that too. You know, you can go buy domains for as cheap as a few bucks. So you can do that, or as you said, create a subdomain, things like that.
Yeah.
There are also link cloaking tools and stuff too, but we won't get into that. We'll just do a subdomain video tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we'll put it on Boomer High so people don't have to wait a week. And,
sure. Helen's asking about link shortening, Patrick. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know if that would matter because
like Bitly and
really
things or something.
It, so I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Helen, you know, I wouldn't actually take the chance. I would prefer to subdomain it. It's so easy. I'll do the little video and show you all. I've got like a spreadsheet of all my subdomains, and you know, I just use them from there.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll do that for you.
We've gone into a lot of detail, and believe it or not, I have to participate in one more hangout in about 5 minutes. So going to have to end her tonight because I got to go take a break before I get in my next meeting. So guys, we'll be back again next week. We thank you all. We're having a lot of fun doing this. We got to get more people. If you are coming to the meeting, coming to this, feel free to bring others along. If you promote Boomer High, just add /ID equals and your ID at the end of it, and then if somebody joins the business that we're promoting on Boomer High, they're joining through you. So it's a way to put Marion and I to work for you, no charge, free. We're just kind of saints that way. But anybody who watches this, if you don't have a Kalatu blog, hey, what's taking you so long? There's a button down below. You get it, and then come back next week and tell us about it. In fact, if you get it, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll even bring you on for an interview if you'd like next week.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, so we'd love to hear from some folks, though. You have questions, great. I'll follow up with and check the questions later, but I'm going to have to run now. Sorry for my rush. I normally don't rush this much. And I'm losing my voice. I don't know how I'm going to be able to talk in the next hour, but it's gone. Anyway, thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you, everyone.
Chin up. Get yourself a Kalatu blog down below, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys. Bye. Bye.